you can see this guitar has been all over the world.
My mom was born in 1954, and it just so happens everything I love is from 54. These plates and 54 Chevys.
Even the case I wouldn't even get rid of, you know, because it's been everywhere with me.
To me, it came from just watching all the old movies with my parents, seeing the old cars, the old music, the way men wore hats. In the Hispanic world, the parents didn't let that die out.
You guys know the Spanish? All right, you guys just clap in Spanish. There you go. El otro día, cuando dormía, soñé.
If you're in a bar in Ireland, traditionally at the end of an evening, everybody in the bar, they have what's called a sing-along. Everybody sings. And this is always led by, through years of experience, Patsy Cline songs, Johnny Cash songs.
Rock and roll, man.
For new rockabilly, these bands with the word cats in their name were coming out of England with eye makeup on, and, you know, trust me, you know, you knew those guys weren't from around my town because there's no way they would be able to get on a subway without getting their ass kicked.
I used to street perform when I sang rockabilly for the public. I sang blue suede shoes. I had the big drake jacket. I had the twin tie thing coming down, like the shoelace, all of that, and the big popping boots. But I'd be going like that kind of stuff. I can still do it.
The 40s and 50s was a really good, simple time that I don't think that the other countries ever were able to experience.
The cars were boring, the music was boring, everything was boring over in Italy. And America was, you know, the land of fun, of opportunity, of excitement.
It reminds people of a time when it wasn't as smoggy, it wasn't as crowded.
That was a very nice dinner, Harriet.
Oh, thank you, dear.
Yeah, it sure was, Mom.
Thank you, Dave.
Would you like some coffee?
When I started wearing my blue jeans to school, the priest, he went nuts. He didn't like that at all. He comes and tells me, "We're not in the Wild West here. We don't dress like sheriff and bandits."
And then this is the original Glen guitar.
You see all these cars out here? This is a Southern California thing since the 40s. Custom cars, hot rods, it's a Southern California thing.
A 1923 Ford Roadster.
1923.
You don't see this shit much, right? Remember that shit.
They don't make things like this anymore. These are, you know, you can't compare these to like a Honda or like Toyotas. You know, those are like toys.
I already had this 50s mindset. I just was always living in another time, you know, kind of romanticize this earlier period.
This has got a lot of history. It's been with me forever. The strings are dead right now. I got to put some new strings on it.
When I started getting in high school, everybody was getting into rock and roll and all this hard rock and all this acid rock. I didn't like it.
We locked out a woman way over town. She's good to me. Yeah.
I just heard it, and all of a sudden I just knew that was it.
This is where I get to dress the way I want to dress and listen to music that you don't hear on the radio.
People see it and they're like, wow, this is something different. People are actually having fun when they go out. You're not hearing violence. You're not going to shoot someone or degrading a lady. Out here you can actually get a girl and ask her to dance.
I really originally came from the mod and punk scene in the 80s. I saw the Rockabilly guys around the same time and kind of thought they were cuter, basically.
This was the first place that I can go out and have a guy walk up and introduce himself and shake my hand instead of grab my ass.
I'm going to say what Carl Perkins told me. He says, Johnny, you ever thought this would happen again?
I didn't, did you?
I have never had this idea.
Yeah, because remember,
so great,
20 years Rockabilly died, right? And in the 70s it came back bigger. I think it's bigger now.
We were supposed to be retired. We were supposed to be doing this, right?
No, we weren't supposed to do this, no.
And actually, most of us are artists or in some fashion or another, so we're really into the aesthetic of it, you know.
You see a horror, there's not another one like it, you know? They made it their own.
We don't pay to get our work done or nothing. We do it ourselves, you know. If we don't know, then we help the guy that's doing it.
We want to make it our own. We don't want your stuff, you know. We don't want I don't want to buy furniture from Wix.
You know, I heard one Led Zeppelin record that said, that's not the way I want to hear guitar. I don't want to hear guitar played like that. I want to hear like Merle Travis, Chet Atkins, Les Paul.
Robert Plant and Jimmy Page, and they came backstage and they got a picture with me. I signed for them. And I remember Robert Plant saying, you know, I told him, I said, you know, I'm not too much into heavy metal. I try to be honest, because I don't know much about heavy metal. And Robert Plant said, you know, I'm not neither. He said, I like rockabilly. That's exactly what he said. I like rockabilly.
There's nothing like, you know, things like what came out of the 50s, you know. It's just everything's better.
And now it's just all computers and digital stuff.
We must wear the jeans, and we tell the squares and the adults and the reactionaries and the communist bastards and the fascist scum and all these other racist pigs, we tell them to, you know, fuck.
I want to say it's nice to be out here for Brando. At Spikes. It's an honor to be out here, and I'd like to meet every one of you. Now, here's what I have for you guys. I don't have a lot here. This is for one of the pretty girls that's out here. What about the pretty guys? There's a picture of me. That is not you. That can't be you. Wait a minute. And you got dark. I got a few pictures of me and Elvis.
Music this day isn't exactly music. It's just a bunch of bitch, cuz, dog, you know? I like it this way. I like the doggy style, you know? Turn around, flip it over, toss it down. I'm like, that's not music.
Ever yearn for the good old days, ladies and gentlemen? I guess you yearn for the good old music, too. We've got some in the program tonight.
Tell me, do you know what rockabilly music is?
No. Rockabilly music? So like, what are you talking about? Like the Ramones?
We discovered it when we were in high school, you know. We didn't exactly know it was called rockabilly music.
Rockabilly? That doesn't make any sense.
Rockabilly!
I said that doesn't make any sense. Don't ask me, I don't know.
Johnny Burnett and Gene Vincent, we kept finding out about all these cats, but we just thought it was rock and roll, like what real rock and roll was.
I mean, it all started off, you know, with Elvis Presley. You know, I liked him, Carl Perkins.
Carl what? Perkins? Let's see here. No.
Gene Vincent, Bebopaloola.
I have never heard of Gene Vincent.
I like Buddy Holly. I like Roy Orbison. I like Elvis. I like Eddie Cochran.
This was like an Eddie Cochran move.
It was Patsy Cline, I think I first heard, and my dad was listening to it, and I was like,
I like Franny Beacham from 1950s. It's Bill Haley in the Comets, Franny Beacham.
You can never forget Chuck Berry.
That's right.
Chuck Berry is the king. He's the Black Elvis.
Yeah, that kicks, baby, that kicks.
Haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, how you doing? I'm doing great, man. Nice to see you. Was it 1956? 58. 58, okay. Well, I was just wondering if you knew he was on the cover of Life magazine.
And Elvis was in it, I was in it, the Everly Brothers.
The other Elvis.
Yeah, the other Elvis. And I had a 4-page spread in the middle of it.
We were at the beach in Foccetta near Viareggio, a beautiful beach resort area. So I walk, you know, on the beach, and I hear, bam, boom, tutti frutti. And oh my God, I thought the world came to an end. I run to the jukebox and I read Little Richard. That was a big, incredible experience.
I would say my favorite is Tear It Up by Johnny Burnett and the Rock and Roll Trio.
Johnny Burnett.
Johnny Burnett, Dorsey Burnett, their records, epitome of rockabilly, fantastic records.
Makes me want to drive 36 miles an hour on side streets.
So I would like my songs, One Cup of Coffee, everybody's moving. I sang Glenn Glenn because I am Glenn Glenn.
I'm waiting on the one I wanna love and pet. It seemed like a year since I seen her face. Her sweet lips I can't wait to taste. I'm waiting on my baby, and she ain't here yet. One cup of coffee and a cigarette.
As a kid, I would always spend hours in my room listening to old 45s and 78s.
The contact of the needle touching the vinyl.
Smell of those records.
You just, I mean, I go to record stores or I go to flea markets. If I see a record that I like the photo or it sounds familiar or through other people, you know, you just buy it and, you know, take it home and see. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it sucks, but you take a chance.
I already got that one.
I tend to buy maybe 40 or 50 albums a week, so I get a bit carried away. Well, I mean, that's the fun about it. If you just do, you know, why even be into it? You just buy Britney Spears, just buy whatever the top 40.
There's something about this music that is so raw.
Oh, it's got the beat, you know, and the slapping bass. Jump, 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 jump.
There's a sexy wooden, you know, animal sound.
That beat, that sound that the early Bill Haley band had.
It's a tactile relationship, it's real.
It's so greasy, it's so juicy.
The heart that musicians put into it and into the recordings that they did in the 50s, you know, you feel all the aggression they had.
It's not perfection.
So cool.
It's just emotion, it's a feeling, it's an attitude.
The first person who really moved me musically was Elvis Presley. And I'm not sure what it was about him, maybe the image and kind of that kind of cool fact. He just seemed cool to me. There's a picture of him holding like a stack of 78s. I remember like wondering to myself, like, oh, well, what did he listen to, you know? And that kind of like led me to eventually like kind of like do my own research or kind of try to figure out like what the original versions of songs that he covered and you know what other styles of music led into the development of rock and roll.
Hungriest cowboy on the range, all set to dig right in, southwestern style. Sure, it's fun to eat in the great outdoors, but here's how to get that hearty, husky chow right at home.
Everybody in Europe loved Western movies, even though the priests didn't like them.
These were some of my idols.
And you see cool guys like Audie Murphy and John Wayne, and they stand up for justice, you know, and truth, and they defend the weak. You know, they defend, you know, like somebody is unfairly branded, you know.
You're gun to kill bad men.
I'm not going to do any killing.
You will not defend yourself?
Oh, I'll shoot if I have to. But I'll shoot to wound, not to kill.
They were great guys, great stars, and very simple, humble people. They weren't anything like these rock stars. They didn't have to get their nose done 3 or 4 times or, you know, put masks over their genitals.
So you get a sense of justice and fairness from watching those Western movies.
So every kid growing up, especially in the Southwest or the South, you know, idolized these people and wanted to be like them. But we didn't know that the era was going to end. You know, the cowboy film era was going to end around 1950 or so. But then rockabilly was a way to take it up again, to continue in that kind of tradition of singing and the guitars.
To me, rockabilly music was a specific genre of music that was recorded from probably around Elvis in the beginning, around 54. And without any racist overtones, rockabilly music was really white music. It was performed by white artists from the South, usually Tennessee, Missouri, Mississippi, Arkansas. Everyone seemed to emit from one area. All very heavily influenced by country music.
Hank Williams, Ernest Tubb, Red Foley, Ray Price, and Porter Wagoner, and all those are the people I loved, and I still do. And so I got influenced by mostly the artists on the Grand Ole Opry, because I came from Missouri. I came to California when I was 13. I started in 1954, which is next year, it'll be 50 years. I started in the music business, and I started in Southern California. That's Johnny Cash, and that's me. That's Johnny Cash before he was the Man in Black. You had big shows all over L.A., and they draw about 2,000 people. They all had their own television. On Saturday night, country music started about 6 o'clock, and then went on till about 2 in the morning. See, Big Sandy, there's the old TV camera. That's a guy. And see, in those days it was fun. You know why? Los Angeles only had 5 television stations, and we were on every Saturday night. Well, Saturday night was all country music. We came on like 7 to 8, and 8 to 9 would come Spade Cooley from the Santa Monica Ballroom, and then the Hometown Jamboree would come on, and then Town Hall Party came on real late, like 10 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning. They come on for 3 hours. So you had country music all night long. These are the originals that we wore. You know, they were tailor-made. See how they did it all through the legs, all the way down? All the suits were, when I worked with the Maddox Brothers and Rose from about 1950, these are early 50 suits. The Maddox Brothers and Rose was called the most colorful hillbilly band because that's what they wore, is fancy suits. They're the only ones that wore those in those days. I mean, they were the best show band there ever was during those days. This is before Elvis.
Rockabilly music was so influenced by country music. And country music really came from stuff like bluegrass and folk music. A traditional setup for a rockabilly band would be an upright bass, an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, and not necessarily drums. But that's traditional lineup for a rockabilly band, would have to have an upright bass.
The bass is an instrument that can do 2 things. It can play the note like, and then it can go this. It can make a noise. So you have a bass and a drum. You have a string instrument and a drum.
Its history came through acoustic instruments. You know, fiddle players, upright bass, acoustic guitars, banging your feet, banging a table, anything to get a rhythm going. And, you know, that sort of made rockabilly. It gave it its energy.
That's not a communist China flag, folks. That's a Texas flag.
My story goes forever. That's Lefty Frizzell and Larry Collins, or the Collins kids, and me. He's a cute little kid, see? He was out of this world. He was only about, he was playing when he was about 8 years old. He played good. I don't know how, he was just great. Well, Joe Maphis, he copied Joe a lot.
Joe Maphis played at a lot of recording sessions with quite a few West Coast, you know, in Los Angeles rockabilly acts. Most popular being Wanda Jackson and Ricky Nelson. And so this is what some of his country stuff sounds like.
I'm Bobby Trimble. This is the lovely Janice Martin.
Oh,
you doing,
Bobby,
doll?
I love you, darling.
I love you, too.
I was bored with country music. I was bored with bluegrass music.
That's what his country stuff sounds like. His rockabilly stuff sounds like this.
And by the way, Lefty's drunk in that picture. Look at his eyes.
Yeah, no, you can tell, yeah.
Yeah, he's drunk. He's holding on to Larry. See, Larry, he's...
There was a black church right up above my house. My little cousins wanted to play on Sunday, and I would want to go up and lay in the weeds and listen to them sing. It was that rhythm, that soul.
You can't segregate radio. It just can't be done. And so white people, any people were listening to the black music, blues and the R&B on the stations, and it started, you know, infiltrating everywhere, and people liked it. It was fun.
So we kind of tried to combine what they called hillbilly music in with the rhythm and blues. And that's how it was born.
The rockabilly guitar style is pretty much based on Merle Travis style, you know, the flat pick and the thumb pick. Well, Scotty Moore with Elvis copied that sound. But then they integrated a little more, like some of the Chuck Berry stuff they heard.
Well, that's Scotty Moore. People like it, all right.
All that classic roots, soulful hillbilly and rhythm and blues people are what we like. Whether it's hillbilly boogie, whether it's rhythm and blues, whether it's doo-wop, rockabilly, rock and roll, solid 1950s music.
Everybody's Moving been recorded by so many different artists. The Stray Cats has done it, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen. But it's Saturday night at the old dance hall, rocking up and having a ball. Cats pick them up and they lay them down. The cats pick them up and they lay them down. My name's Bob Dylan. I'm just thinking everybody's moving.
What can we use? If we just say rock and roll, a lot of people might be thinking of Led Zeppelin or things which I don't consider rock and roll at all.
Sure, how much?
9.
9? Oh, that's killer. Both sides are killer. Justine and Bing Bang, Don and Dewey. LA guys too, specialty.
The later 50s was a great time for music because it opened, every door was open.
You know, it broke. There were so many different people. All the hillbillies, you know, you heard them starting to rock.
If God made man and the devil made Eve, a woman and the devil got the best of me, bring me right down to my knees, please, T. Louise.
These kids like that stuff. They like those nasty guitar notes and twangy stuff and being out of tune a little bit and raw and rough and not rehearsed and go in and cut it in one take.
It has that, you know, like everything's gonna fall apart.
I had a little innocent 15-year-old face with a ponytail and whatever, but when I got on stage, I was raunchy.
You know, it's out of control. It's like a little kid going crazy.
We were playing a theater in Maine, and they wouldn't let us go on, the chief of police and the priest wouldn't let us go on because we were in leopard skin jacket. We were too wild.
And I sang barefooted, I moved.
And what happened? They burned the place down.
And they tried to make me stand still or whatever, but I couldn't do it.
The records sound real and wild.
It affects your whole body. It's a way of life. It's the American soul.
Everything had a chance. If you were a gospel singer or a black singer or a country singer or a hillbilly, or you had a shot.
But a good chunk of the rockabilly catalog is pretty obscure.
Charlie Fetters,
Mac Curtis,
Sonny Burgess,
Ray Kempe, Jackie Lee Cochran,
Warren Smith, Billy Lee,
Tracy Pendarvis,
Johnny Carroll,
Hayden Thompson,
Wanda Jackson.
My name is Bob Timmers. I run the Rockabilly Hall of Fame based out of Nashville, and I've been doing it for 6 years. It's totally an internet site. It's not a building yet. I said that what the world needs is just a list of names of the true historians that created the music, whether you're a producer, a one-hit wonder, a local one-hit wonder, or Elvis. You all did something to help the music.
I think we were the beginning of all the modern day rock and roll, punk, psychedelic, whatever it is.
And America, you know, came out with the greatest singers, the greatest rock and roll and rhythm and blues performers that the world has ever seen.
The Rockabilly really kind of just hit and then blew out.
By 1963, there was no work for any of the original rock and roll guys.
When they went to electric bass, the Fender style bass, that kind of was the end of rockabilly.
When bandstands started getting popular in the early 60s, you didn't hear them. You heard Frankie Avalon, you heard all this polished stuff out of Philadelphia.
It's not the blues singer who's traveling on, who's hoboing on railroad cars. It's not the teenagers who dreams, of buying a big Cadillac and he's going to sing his guts out, on stage. He's going to burn his voice out on stage so he can get a hit record, so he can get a great Cadillac car and be #1 with all the chicks. It's not that when you listen to Frankie Avalon.
The Billy has got to stay in the music. When the Billy is taken out, then you have something else. You have something more modern. So when they put an electric starter on the Model T and you didn't have to crank it like that, it was a different car,
We dig! Bad won't wear on as the day wears on. Won't wear on. I got the major level blues. They just won't let me do what I wanna do. I got the major level blues. They just won't let me do what I wanna do. Well, every time I do my stuff, they say, thanks for coming, son, but that's enough.
We have 3 different types of tours. We got the Movie Stars Homes. It's a 2-hour tour. Covers half of Hollywood, Beverly Hills, Bel Air, Nobley Hills. Rockabilly.
Did they get 355 for Alex?
Do you know what rockabilly is? Who's your favorite rockabilly artist?
I have no favorites.
Can you name one?
No.
Well, every time I do my stuff, my vocal elocution don't sound soft. Well, every time I do my stuff, my vocal elocution don't sound soft. but my record sales are rough. The gals over 35 don't buy enough.
This is a new town, right? Our mayor wants it nice and dignified. No rock and roll, no jazz. What do we do now?
He's bound to have an idea, otherwise there's no picture.
Here, I meet this man. I come to his house, and all his posters are Elvis, all over his studio in our old house in Van Nuys. And then our second son is born on January 8th, the same day as Elvis Presley's birthday. And we couldn't call my son Elvis, that would be too much, you know, just a little too much. So, but we did name him Jeremy Aaron for Elvis's middle name, Aaron. Elvis Aaron Presley, and we have Jeremy Aaron Weiser.
Well, howdy, hi, cats. I'm Rockin' Ronnie Weiser, and we are in the Rolling Rock room of my house in Las Vegas, Nevada, the Wild West, or as I prefer to say, the wildest west possible. I was born in Milano, Italy, and my parents traveled to Vienna and different countries because of my father's business. And so also because I was Jewish, I never became really attached to any European country, which were somewhat anti-Semitic back then.
Not a, you know, when he was born was not a good time to be Jewish in Italy. You know, we're talking the Mussolini period.
Questa musica barbarica americana, non voglio vedere I dischi di questa musica barbarica americana.
He was obsessed with American things.
You see the shirts, you know, look at this stuff, and they have the fringes, and they have the gold and turquoise and black. These are two typical Western 1950s colors, turquoise and black. The other one are pink and black, you know, typical American rockabilly rock and roll colors. Pink and black in Italy in the 50s or early 60s, man, you know, you're looking for trouble, buddy. What really made me flip for the States is when we went to see the movie Loving You with Elvis Presley wearing red cowboy pants, a red and white satin cowboy shirt with embroidery. He had these long sideburns, this pompadour, and he was shaking and rocking and rolling while all the girls were screaming. Then he was driving this convertible car. I think it was a white something, I don't know, just an American car. You didn't need to call it a Chevy or anything. It was an American car.
So Rockin' Ronnie Weiser in America, as far as we know, as far as I know, he is the one guy that brought back this lifestyle, musical lifestyle, and actual culture.
So, you know, he came here, I guess in the late 60s.
To live the American dream.
He was not enamored of the culture as he found it.
It was nothing like what he saw as a kid, you know, in Loving You and stuff, you know, the Cadillacs and the people and the clothes and the Western clothes.
It was like the whole thing, you know, the English invasion groups and the Haight-Ashbury.
Long hair, paisley, you know, dope smoking kind of culture. None of these things appeals to Rockin' Ronnie Weiser.
So one day I was at the dorm with a friend of mine, and he was, you know, we were into Little Richard. So we would be playing these Little Richard records, Lucia and Good Golly Miss Molly. So a bunch of these hippies, you know, just open the door and, what is this shit? You know, they take the record player, they throw it out of the window.
So he devoted his life to recreating that era.
Time to go back to some real rock, you know, no more of this hippie scum shit.
So when he came over, the first guy Ron met was Gene Vincent.
Gene, this is Ronnie Weiser. I'm the president of the Hollywood Rock and Roll Fan Club. Do you think I could talk to you a second? And Gene is very, very timid, very shy, laid back. He says, "Oh, sure, why don't you come upstairs?"
And it was the end of Gene's life. Gene was a mess. He was just like this bloated alcoholic raving about how he had been persecuted by the industry. And Ronnie loved him. He befriended him. And actually, the last time Gene was recorded was by Ronnie.
He recorded 4 songs on a little cheap tape recorder in his house.
I didn't have Rolling Rock at that point. I didn't have a real tape recorder, 4-track, real microphones, or even a living room. And I started putting on Rolling Rock records in order to get the authentic sound back out.
Rollin' Rock Studios in Van Nuys was actually Ronnie Weiser's garage on Peach Street. You know, there are parts on records where you can hear his dog bark.
He made all the covers himself. They're horrible, some of them.
Ronnie had decided the bass wasn't slappy enough, so he overdubbed a stapler. And it worked! He had a magazine also called Rollin' Rock, and this is the days before desktop publishing. So like type it by himself, spelling errors, grammar errors, the energy of the thing, like you couldn't put it down once you started reading it. And one of his campaigns was to plant trees in Israel in memory of Gene Vincent. You know, where he grew up, when he grew up, to have an interest in American rock and roll and American Western wear. He was an outsider, you know. And the other thing was the role of the Jew in Europe at that point. If you were known to be Jewish, you were an outsider. So these two things that he cared about the most deeply in his heart of hearts. If you look closely at the Rollin' Rock logo, there's a little Star of David. Right, there is.
Somebody said, did you know there's a guy, you live in Los Angeles, there's a guy named Ray Campy, this is Matt Curtis, there's several rockabillys that live in Los Angeles. Somebody told him about these older guys that had made rockabilly records in the 50s. He said, I want to meet them.
I expected a big fat guy with a cigar, you know, like I've met in the other record companies in New York. And here comes Ron with two girls in his arms, rolled up dungarees and red socks. Hey, never mind that country bullshit. I want to hear some rockabilly.
Then he comes upon Ray.
There's my 59 Imperial in front of the Palomino, the famous Palomino. Here's my 66 Cat convertible in front of Patio Pizza. And we were trying to bring back rockabilly there.
And he had at least one of Ray's singles from the 1950s. So he decided he was going to make Ray a big rockabilly star.
Loretta, what have you done to me? Loretta, why did you set me free?
Well, I was raised during a time of swing dancing but when we moved to Texas, there was a lot, you know, Texas has been settled by Germans and Czechoslovakians, so there was a lot of German and European music in Texas. The accordion was popular, very popular. I started recording in the house in 1949 on a disc cutter, you know, just for practice. And we had a little band in the bedroom. You know, I had 2 radio shows in 1951, one in Austin and one in Taylor, Texas, and we went up and did these shows live. And then I got into rockabilly, and when I started hearing Carl Perkins on the jukebox and stuff like that, I said, and Les Paul, you know, playing all this stuff. So I gotta do something like that.
When you go back to the 50s, Ray Campy was not a rockabilly star. He was just like one of those guys that made a rockabilly record, like a million guys made rockabilly records.
That you would only go.
Actually, Ray did not have any hits in the 50s.
I owe everything to him because I was like, you know, I just started school teaching when I met him, and I've been through every kind of time clock job you can imagine.
And so when I want to record Ray Campy, I say, we must have a slapping bass.
And they pointed to me, said, you better learn to play the bass.
What? I don't know how to play that thing, you know. I don't know how to play it.
Well, the bass is always in the back of the band, you know, so I said, hey, if I start learning to play the bass, I'm going to get stuck back here, and then nobody's ever going to hear me. I'll never sing a song, you know. My ego was in the way, see. So they said, no, you learn the bass, you put it on the record. So, but then I dragged the bass up to the front, see, which nobody had done.
So what happens? 20 minutes later, he was playing that thing, and I think the next morning we record Pan American Boogie. It worked out perfectly. That record sounds great. Pan American Boogie became a big hit in all the rock and roll discos over in England.
I know we got a lot of guys here today, kids. We got some good tough boy rockabilly reels. I wonder if we got any girl rockabilly reels. I think we got one. You know, darling, I could tell you were there all the time. Let's do this for all the Rockabilly rebels.
Record labels did not control the media in Europe. They couldn't make their records, be played. There was no payola. So how did you become popular? Disc jockeys in clubs, dancing, DJs.
At one point, I had 9 Rolling Rock records on the rock and roll discotheque charts in England. 9 Rolling Rock records, including number 1, 2, and 3.
The old Teddy Boys were still hanging around Gene Vincent's stuff and Eddie Cochran. They'd seen them in the 60s. But now it's the 70s, like 12, 13 years later, and now I'm coming with young guys doing rockabilly to Europe. And we were like one of the first American revival rockabilly bands that they ever saw in England.
He really became kind of an ambassador for a lost art form. In a way, became kind of the symbol for the rockabilly revival before anybody knew there was one.
He got a tremendous following all over the world.
We're from Finland and we love rockabilly music.
They were already using the Rolling Rock logo done by hand on t-shirts that they were doing by hand. 12-year-old kids. Ray Campy was their idol.
I love Ray Campy, I love rockabilly music, I love legendary Rolling Rock records.
If we had to depend on radio, like here, to be heard, then we couldn't have made it.
Rakastan Ray Campia.
So next thing you know, Ray Campy was a punk rock hero in the Los Angeles area. He was on the front cover of I Wanna Be Your Dog.
There was room for rockabilly. There was room for Los Lobos. There was room for a lot of different things in the punk rock scene. Bands like X had an interest in Hank Williams and the Carter family and Blind Lemon Jefferson, and, a lot of the people who formed the real roots of the great American maverick music.
There was an audience for the rockabilly, and there was a crossover. The rockabilly people were, into the punk stuff. They were both. They had similarities. It was I guess an exciting time because people just said, "Well, I can do this."
When we first started playing, we didn't know that it was a rockabilly scene, and we heard a band that was so killer called the Blasters. That was when they just had one record out on Rolling Rock.
The Blasters, their first record was on Rolling Rock. Their first touring was with me. They opened for me.
And when we heard them, we go, "This is it. This is why we're gonna try to play music and write songs and be a band."
Great songs. And Dave Alvin wrote most of the songs. And Phil is a great singer. I love the way he sings. It's just different. I mean, the Blasters were a different band. They were a band.
Art Fine told me that Shakin' Stevens, a popular British rock and roll star, was in Los Angeles. So I go down to the Marquis Hotel in Westwood where Shakin' Stevens was staying, and I give him a Blasters album, and I point out, this song, Marie Marie, sounds like a hit to me. So Shakin' Stevens records Marie Marie and becomes #1, not rock and roll, but pop. #1 pop hit in England, in Germany, #3 in Holland, all over the world.
But their manager, made decisions, said, "We don't want you on this little label, we want you on a bigger label," which is normal. So they went to Slash Records, which was another Rolling Rock, like 2 guys with a little label. And Slash got picked up by Warner's. And he said, nobody takes me seriously. I'm a record company. I invested my time, my studio. I'm in here every day building this studio. I'm in here every day recording these people for nothing. My time. I'm here working. And I put a record out and I sell 400 or 500, maybe 1,000, and I still I'm not rich, I'm not going to get rich that way.
The publishing money out of Marie Marie, which might have been $20,000 one year, $30,000 the next year, $10,000 the next year, that basically paid for medical bills and, expenses for the kids.
But then he realized that the major companies were not going to sign rockabilly. They were not going to sign, they were hippies, they were not going to sign Rolling Rock kind of people, they weren't going to sign guys with greasy hair.
Although, to Ronnie's credit, there was a real actual Rolling Rock sound that had a lot to do with Ray Campy because he played so many instruments on so many records.
In the 70s, when nobody else would record us, like Ray Campy and myself and a bunch of people, Ron would record us. He loved our music. See, we're the big record companies that didn't recognize us at all. See, and Ron Weiser did.
People don't understand, you know, what an extreme maverick personality Rockin' Ronnie Weiser was.
As far as I know, in the early 70s, we were the only people in the world to play rock and roll music with a stand-up bass. After the Rolling Rock tour in 1977, you finally started seeing the stand-up bass.
All these kids right now driving around in 53 Packards and, you know, going out every weekend with girlfriends with Betty Page bangs and all that. Get on your knees right now, face Las Vegas, and just bow down to Rockin' Ronnie Weiser. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a show to go to right now.
And then the Stray Cats came.
The Stray Cats did a lot for the scene too, and they built it up, and they had a hit, so they opened it up and made it cool, and it wasn't so underground anymore.
Credit where credit's due. Brian Setzer was really one of the most technically proficient guitar players to come out of nowhere in a long, long time. But you know, I don't think they were a return to Gene Vincent as much as I think they were a return to Fabian.
See, in 1982, the rockabilly scene was like this cliche.
Your pompadour had to be 12 inches high instead of 3.
I don't think we had all those tattoos in the 50s. I know we didn't. Elvis didn't. I didn't.
No grease. That's just the only thing you got going. No grease.
You know, like the Stray Cats, they did it's hair gel and hairspray, and they really do it up. You know, you look like a flock of seagulls. You know, it was just, it's bad.
That's the real deal right there. And it's all grease too, man. There's no hairspray, no gel.
So Bill cream? No.
You gotta have grease. You gotta have the Murrays or the Dax or the Royal Crown in your hair. That's it, exactly.
Because when you wear gel and you set the hair, that's it. It's not moving. It has to be like that, and you pray to God that it works out fine. But with Murrays or grease, you could keep combing it and keep combing it.
So this kind of hair would get water, you can get liquid, you can get oil, you can get mild wax, you can get butch wax, you can get saddle wax. And what you're using? Wax.
You know, you're finished with the dance and your hair's a mess, you could just comb it right back again. It's the best thing ever invented.
Now where would one go to find? I get mine shipped in. From where? I order mine from Kentucky. Kentucky?
And a lot of people do, you know, they get judgmental on us or myself, and they say, hey, you know, why are you wearing that type of hairstyle? Why do you dress that way?
They're just really snotty. Like if they see like punks or whatever, like I don't know, they just think that like they're a lot better than they are because maybe they're clean and they have pompadours, and pompadours look like they just have swollen heads. And
I tell them because this is who I am. It's not because I'm stuck in an era or stuck, you know, or you know I'm trying to, you know, bring something back. It's just because this is who I am.
Keep your greasy pillow on your side of the bed, and I have my clean pillow on my side.
And they turn their heads and say, look, you know, look at this guy, he's a greaser. But they don't realize that it means just more to me than just a look. I mean, personally, it's how my roots grew up with and how my family was raised up with. I go back and visit my relatives back where they're from, either being Mexico or Texas, and they still dress the same. They're still wearing their pompadours, their greased hair, and I had to reflect on myself, and this is what I feel comfortable with.
They gotta be like their dads, huh?
Work on cars and repair them, fix them up, and hopefully start a body shop one of these days.
It's authentic, and it's based in a simpler time, and there's a real attraction to that, and there's a simplicity, and you find probably that there's more kind of, you know, an authentic attraction to these cars that these guys rock.
In the 50s and 60s, your cars were primered, the red rims, you have the old hot rods, you go to the junkyard, you get a motor and you put it together, you get a car for a few $100s, and you put it together and you have a nice cruise rod.
We're not into lowriders. It's a whole different issue. It's a whole different scene. We're more into bombs
customizing the car, flat black. Doesn't have to be shiny. It can have tons of rust. We think it gives it character.
With me, I just went ahead and got a regular spray paint can and just used about 20 of them and just shot it, with a little can. With me, it's just, the budget and cheapest way to go. Put some WD-40 to grease it up and make it look shiny, and get your little red wheels and white walls and just, see how low you can go with it and get your hot rods out and, for a nice quick cruise.
Some hot rod chicks.
Oh, yeah, right.
Now, baby, 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 don't you lie to me. Oh, yeah. Well, now, baby, 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 don't you lie to me. Oh, yeah. Well, if I catch you running around, won't you lie to me? Well, I wanna see you lie, I wanna see you shake, rockin' and rollin' till you make my heart break. Oh, baby, 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 don't you lie to me. Oh, yeah. Well, if I catch you running around, won't you lie to me?
I don't know who Von Dutch is.
Von Dutch is considered by most people to be the originator, the founder, the creator of
Granddaddy of pinstriping.
Right, the granddaddy of pins, and not just pinstriping, but kind of a rebellious art style. The scene got its footing here in Los Angeles. Everything else was cookie cutter production, and those guys would take torches, pinstriping brushes, lathes, hammers, and they just go crazy.
There's all the cars I built. Some of the cars I built.
Yeah, that one right there, that's mine, the 41 Buick.
Yeah, but mine is better because it's already shaded in. That's a 65 Riviera.
Well, it has to be shaded. See, that's why he left it all black there.
Oh, okay.
It's got nice outlines and that kind of stuff.
Come on.
I was an art student in high school. I used to do ceramics and clay and stuff, and then I got into the sheet metal work, welding, and it's basically the same thing as clay. I mold the metal to what I want it to look like. I do work for Boyd, Coddington and stuff. They ship stuff in, I do it, and it goes out. Cypress Auto Body, Bill Hines. This is all self-taught. My dad taught me how to weld, taught me how to do things, and then I went from there. Basically, you learn from your mistakes. Everybody thinks you do it one time perfect. It's impossible. You have to learn by your mistakes. That's the only way you're going to learn. There's kids that are going to be doctors, there's kids that are going to be lawyers, and most of them aren't. Most of them aren't going to be that. They should be directed into a trade, into something that, hands-on, because a lot of them are good with their hands. You should find what your kid wants to do and direct them toward that.
These guys wrench on these cars, It's authentic, man. I got the only one, I made a table out of a piece of a bowling alley, or I made a coffee table out of 2 radiators. It doesn't matter. It's just sort of having that kind of relationship with things. It's a tactile relationship. It's real.
I have a 51 Ford shoebox 2-door sedan. I restyled the car because I wanted to look low and sleek, basically. I wanted to look like a torpedo. When you're driving a car with the music blasting, with the songs you like, it's like you're on cloud 9. Nothing can hurt you. Sometimes it's better than sex.
These kinds of things are stories. These cars tell stories.
Yeah, we dropped the transmission on my father's finger. Got hurt pretty bad. So yeah, there's casualties almost every time somebody works on the car.
When I was 18, I thought, it'd be so cool to have a car club.
Why, in the burg I came from, I had the juiciest bug of any rodder in the goose greasers. That was our street racing club.
A car club is just basically just old cars and, and a few members, with friends and, keep a little brotherhood bond. Well, from the club called the Emperors, and basically we're out of Victorville, and we're just a basic car club, Rockabilly. I have a 1958 Ford Edsel convertible. It's not running yet.
And that's my car. It's a 1932 Ford 500 Coupe, 40 Ford dash, 16-inch 40 Ford wheels, 56 Ford truck steering. Usually the top is this high. It's chopped. I can remember like when I got my hot rod, this car, I was totally fortunate enough, and I was like 22 years old, and like if there wasn't anything like this, you know, I mean that I had to. There wasn't any books on it. There was like, the only things we had were like old magazines and old timers to talk to. You know, it was really hard to even figure out what tire size to get because like you couldn't come here to something like this and photograph or look at a car and go, oh, those look good. I don't know if I want to get in this, but I guess I will a little bit. Like, you know, like people call it like rat rods, and you know, I mean, these are like hot rods. You know, this is like a real hot rod. Like when the custom culture show happened, I think it was '91. You know, we used to get like however many people that were into it, be like, oh, there's like the older guys, there's a custom culture kid. I was like, what is a custom culture kid? You know, what's that mean? But you know, we were just trying to, you know, be into it. Although I do like a lot of different modern things, being an artist and whatnot. But I think the quality of craftsmanship back then was a lot different, and you know, things took more time. And I think a lot of hand-done things and like organic stuff has kind of disappeared. But I think a lot of people are bringing that back, which is totally cool.
I had these cut out of metal, you can see in the back, and I had the frames made, and you know, they're all plain wood. These are the panels are plain when I get them. You know, I'll shoot a color behind it. I'll prep the frame, you know, putty it, sand it, primer it, and then put whatever color I want, you know, and then just stripe it.
This kind of has a blend of some larger line size, like some earlier stuff, with a little bit of the curvy design to it, and so it kind of blends a little bit of like a new type of intricacy with some old line style and color.
My dad is a custom painter, so it kind of runs in the family. I couldn't help it. I'm like the son he never had. I really like it. I think I picked up on it really quickly. It's in my blood. It's the only thing that keeps me interested for more than 5 minutes. Honestly, I have a real hard time concentrating. You know, I didn't do that well in school, but you know, I really like doing this.
I was concerned at first because I really didn't know how these rockabilly kids were, you know, what they're into. It wasn't my scene. I come out of more of a surfing hot rod thing, but not so much of the retro rockabilly thing. But Janelle seems to be pretty firmly planted on the good values, and I think she's got a good blend of some rebelliousness with you know, some really great qualities.
I'm not gonna label myself anything. I don't care what people think of me, if they like my work, if they like me. You know, my look and what I do, it's, you know, influenced by everything, by rockabilly, by psychobilly, punk. You know, I love all of it, and you know, I don't want to limit myself to one thing. That's boring.
For me, cats like me don't buy anything that your big companies are telling us to buy, and we don't really care much for government. But when our friends say, hey man, you should come check out this car, we'll go check it out, you know. And when they say check out this band, that's who we listen to, because we believe in that kind of authentic word of mouth, and that's what this stuff all communicates, man. It's real.
We've been playing rockabilly music now for over 20 years. It's hard to believe. Pretty tough being a trio. I love it because it's so raw, and it's like sometimes it can just fall all apart, and then we get it back together, and then we lose it, then we pull it in, and it's very emotional, and it's you know, and it's a very family type scene, and people, for the most part, man, I love it, man. Nobody's backstabbing anybody or jiving anybody.
Rockabilly is a working class scene.
It's like working class, but it's also like hard working class. Like these people that go to the shows, you know, usually are like mechanics, you know, have like blue collar jobs.
And they just want to go there to unwind and enjoy, you know, good music and a good scene.
It's a lot of drinking and a lot of sleeping around. That's what it is. Hey, I'm being honest. I probably slept with half the guys here. Really? No.
Hi, I'm David. I'm from Wilmington, and I am the token gay rockabilly guy.
Honestly, I mean, the thing that got me into the rockabilly scene was a laid-back environment. That was it. You go there, you go to a gig, and you bump into a guy. Oh, you know, sorry, bro. That's it. You go to another place, to R&B, hip-hop club, whatever. You bump into a guy, they want to beat you up. Yeah, you have you have these greaser kids with cuffed-up jeans and leather jackets and stuff. You know, try to carry on that machismo style that the greasers had back then. But really, when it boils down to it, these are the nicest guys you can ever meet.
They have that kind of little boy sadness edge to them, although they're very manly.
They can be tough as hell,
but still treat you like a lady.
Exactly.
That's
the whole thing.
Oh my god.
That's the whole thing.
The hottest thing about the rockabilly girls that go to the clubs is their hair. The hair, the flower, the makeup, and then comes the dress, the legs, and everything else.
The women from this era were just they were more feminine. They were more into being pretty and dressing up and just looking nice overall.
The hills are great. When you learn to walk in them drunk.
Oh, yeah. And dance?
When you learn to walk and dance in them drunk, they're the best things ever.
A lot of the appeal of rockabilly is the pinup. A lot of women feel even the heavier women or voluptuous women feel very comfortable in the vintage clothes. It really suits them. And I think that's one thing I like about the guys too, is that they like that too.
She's like an untamed tiger, just a scratching at the walls. Her body starts to shake when she hears my maiden call. Her daddy locked her in and thrown out the key. Now little baby's burning with the cage teeth. She locked the door out, dragging down West End Drive. I'll tell you, boy, that chick, man, she's alive. But it's too many nights on a warm back seat. Now little baby's burning with the cage teeth. Well, you can't turn a tiger to an old house cat. Just tell your daddy what you think about that. Her temperature's high when she's out on the streets. A little baby's burning with the cage teeth. Her love's like a flame that won't turn down. Her body still shakes all over town. And she's a fiery tiger at the sight of fresh meat. A little baby's burning with the cage teeth.
I've gone to regular clubs less than a handful of times, and I hate it every time. But every show I go to, you get butterflies and you're excited.
After the swing scene, and it got very mainstream, and it got, now it's very underground.
It's not really that we're trying to become promoters. It's more about keeping the past, alive. I will say, LA or Southern California is the hotspot for anybody in rockabilly to play. I mean, it's the only city where you have things going on every weekend.
Rockabilly in LA is unique. No other country, no other place in the world has a scene like LA. LA has the biggest scene, the best bands.
That's the beautiful thing about this period of time, really. There are all these young bands that are really, really good.
In my record label, we try and take bands on who maybe wouldn't get recorded anywhere else, because when they're ready to release their record, they might do really good and sell 500 copies, but they should be heard. And it's not about money. Nobody's going to make money with rockabilly. and the bands aren't going to make money. Myself as a promoter, I don't really make any money from that.
But if you're looking to make money, this isn't the scene to do it. It's more of a love for the music and the style, the lifestyle.
Well, I mean, if you live your everyday life, you dress the way you dress, you do your makeup the way you want to do it, and, you know, just like how we look right now. Sometimes we'll look like that, you know, just to go out, to go to the mall or something like that. I can't believe I said the mall. But anyways, people look at you and they're like,
she works at the mall.
Yeah, two jobs.
Give her a break. Give her a break.
And so when you go to a show, or like, you know, like Tommy's Luau.
Tommy, you have a nice backyard. So do you, darling.
That's your time to dress up and go out and
enjoy
show
the people.
your stuff,
And, yeah, because nobody's gonna be like, oh my God, what is she wearing?
For some people, it's a dress up. Oh, and you know, maybe they came from somewhere where they always had to be a certain way, and then now that they're adults, they're like, oh, I'm gonna go like this just to piss off my parents or piss off where I came from. But the Latins here that you see, this is just a way of life.
Back when I was a kid, Channel 34 was the only Spanish station in LA, and they always played all the old movies that had these great artists, Mexican artists. When you see a lot of the girls here, a lot of the Latin girls, they're trying to copy their style. You might even see a few of them that have a blonde streak in their dark hair. That came from Tangoleles.
It came from this actress right here, and her hair was naturally white and streaked. So a lot of people try to imitate her. That's where I got it from. So that's my heritage.
So you try, to be a hepcat, a rockabilly rebel, and, wear the cool American look.
Okay, yeah, you have your gabardines.
Gabardine pants, gabardine shirts, gabardine jackets.
Very vintage, very slick. Very, very Des Yarnez, very Elvis.
When you find something gabardine, it's heavy, it drapes, and the drape is what people look for.
There's the Western guys, too. They got the cowboy hats, they got the Western jackets, very close hair, short hair, vintage cowboy boots.
This is actually from eBay, and it's felt inlays and all that. And then I rhinestone studded it with a bedazzler that I got at where did I get? Michael's.
This is a Mealy jacket. It's a reissue 1952 from the original, and I got it from Rancho California. So this is licensed stitching right here.
Then you have your car guys who have the motorcycle boots, the jeans, t-shirts, bomber jackets.
And don't forget the chain.
This is definitely my friend Elvis, and it's an authentic look. Believe me, because I'm from the 50s and I know the look.
Now there's a bunch of squares out in the street. They go to Dillard. They spend $40 for a crappy shirt of polyester made in Bangladesh, while the hepcats are on eBay, and they might spend maybe $5, $9, $10, $12, as little as that, to get a great, crazy gabardine turquoise and black shirt.
This is a $260 1940s pin-up tie.
These are plain Dickies you can get at any swap meet.
This jacket was about $150.
I got that actually for $3, and we took the bedazzler and rhinestone studded it. It's brand new.
You show up, you got the suit, the tie, and literally I'd go through crowds at a crowded club and they would just part. And when you wear the suit and everything, you get respect, you get attention, you get free drinks. Who's gonna mess with you? Who's gonna mess with you? And please, do not wear a hat indoors. That's just, I mean, I got all the tricks from my dad. The suits, the shoes, the hair, the watch. He came from Mexico, no education whatsoever. He left school when he was in second or third grade. Mexican Revolution, small town, and but he decided to come up north, and he would take the train, and he would come across the border in Texas, and he would get into a suit. So right before he got to the border, go to the bathroom and change into a suit, tie. And so when they cut over the border on the train, La Migración would come over and say, okay, can I see your papers? You. Because they all looked like farm hands, they were all in their farm clothes. So it was like red flag, these people are illegal. So, but they would always leave my dad alone, and they would always end up apologizing, sorry for the disturbance, I hope you have a nice ride.
And look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, why just one button when you can have 4? This is what America is all about, the land of opportunity, the land of plenty.
You can have your cake and you can eat it. Make life sweet, it's hard to beat it.
I always have been told that I was an old soul.
My parents are Filipino. They grew up there, and I was one of the first ones to be born here in California and raised here. So, kind of the Americanized person. That's why I'm into this style, this lifestyle.
Buying something that you can get anywhere, you know, is like bringing you to this time. And I guess there is kind of like a romanticism or something about the vintage times and the, you know, whole 40s and 50s era. The whole look, it's homey. It makes you feel like you're at home. It's a comfortable space. The colors, the designs, the things that were made, the furniture, it's all comfortable and relaxed. And it was about, you know, having fun at home and being with your family and having your 2.5 kids and a dog and everything.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
When John and I were first living together, I did actually make him have dinner ready for him when he got home. He's a Marine. He works hard for, you know, what he does, and he fights for his country, so he has a big long day, and he deserves to have his dinner ready when he gets home. And I'd get ready, wear my little apron, and it was the whole vintage thing, and I still do it because I love him. John and I met originally at the Bolorama in Los Angeles. We went to go see a Big Sandy show, and that was my first time seeing Big Sandy, and it was the first time meeting John. Going to a Big Sandy show, you are elated. I mean, there's nothing that can go wrong. You just feel good. It gives you a high that you can carry on through the whole night.
They were a band that played closer to the earlier style. The way they recorded was closer to the earlier style. You know, like in other words, when you hear the Stray Cats records or the Blasters records, you know, they have a big modern drum sound. So you didn't really hear like rockabilly bands unproduced. You didn't hear rockabilly on the hoof. And then here comes Big Sandy and the Fly-Right Boys. We were all just going like, what?
His music is great. It's a romantic style of music.
Robert Williams, Big Sandy, understood Johnny Mercer and Hoagie Carmichael. It's a country boys version of elegant. You know, it's elegance in nature. It's elegance from the back porch. Robert had that. He was the first songwriter that had that since Johnny Mercer.
I think Big Sandy's very important. I think, you know, as long as he's there, there's always be a scene, there'll always be a dance. We're gonna go see Big Sandy tonight, or Big Sandy was playing that night.
I met my wife at a Big Sandy show.
People definitely, I think, fall in love, like we did.
The first day I lived in Hollywood, I went to see Big Sandy, and there was this girl, and she was a black 50s dress, she had a black bob, and she was dancing. I thought, oh, she's so beautiful. I could never dance with her.
I was married for 12 years. I didn't know how to dance. I was one of those tough guys that wouldn't dance. So my wife left me for a salsa dancer. And that day I decided I was going to learn to dance, to show her a lesson. And that's where I met Darla.
And then every week she would, come on, Javier, let's dance. And I said, I don't know any moves. She goes, it's okay. You can keep time and you can keep rhythm. I said, all right, well, hell.
Hey, all the stars are out tonight and everybody's high. I wish I may, wish I might, feeling kind of lucky. Step aside, you gentlemen, and let me pass on by. But I'm looking at the women and I'm feeling kind of lucky. Oh, I'm gonna win now. Oh, I'm in like Flynn now. Oh, place my bet on that brunette. She's giving me the eye. And I'm gonna hit her number, yeah, yeah, feeling kind of lucky, lucky. care, oh, feeling kind of lucky. Well, I'm not superstitious, but there's Jeannie passing by, and I know she'll grant my wishes, boys, oh, feeling kind of lucky. Oh, I feel kind of fun now. Oh, I feel like a blonde now. Bring one on now. I got no worries, got no blues. I feel like I could fly. The odds are stacked, I just can't lose. Feeling kind of lucky, lucky. Begin now. Hey, all the stars are out tonight, and everybody's high. I wish I may, I think I might, oh, feeling kind of lucky. Oh, I'm feeling kind of lucky. Oh, I'm feeling kind of lucky.
I was kind of wondering, you maybe have something you want to say here? Jillian? We've been together for 4 years.
Jillian, we've been together through thick and thin. The Marine Corps got me working 16 hours a day. I always have dinner waiting for me when I come home. We have a wonderful house. We have a wonderful dog. Jillian.
Come here, girl.
Come up here.
Get on your knee, Marine! Yeah! Get on your knee, Marine! Hold on.
Jillian Cox, will you marry me?
Hold on, trouble. Of course she will. I want to have her John and Jillian now.
Got a promotion?
Yeah, Valley girl, because I speak Spanish.
My name is Chuy. I grew up in East Los Angeles, and the way I was influenced into this whole era of music and this whole generation, or whatever you call it, was through my brother. You know, it's pretty rough growing up in East Los Angeles. While I was growing up, my brother started becoming a hip cat and into the whole rock and roll lifestyle. I just saw him and I saw the way he was, the coolness, the hairstyle, the different, you know, everybody walks into a room and they're all bald, you know, your classroom, but you're the only one with hair, tucked in shirt and, you know, nice shoes, and everyone's like, wow, what is that? You know, what style of music is that? And it was really something really different that I saw when I was growing up, that I was like, wow, you know, I'm 11 years old and this is the direction I can either go this way or that way. Which way do I go, you know?
Now cut it out, you kid. Cut it out! Rowdy kids. Troubled kids headed for trouble. Still a couple of years from real crime. But with destruction and violence their only outlet, they're on their way to it. Unless their outlook can be changed.
You know, when I first came out to the Rockabilly, it was all white, basically white. Yeah, well, I think it's mostly Latino now.
They're the heart of the culture of the Rockabilly and the car club scene right now. They're the whole heart of the whole scene out here on the West Coast in Southern California.
What we listen to every day of our life, that's the culture we live in. This is an everyday thing. This isn't just overnight. This is what we live through. This is what I live for. Music, booze, hot rods, and men.
Well, I'm Mexican, And I know what my family is like, and that's what our whole family is about. Our family is about getting together for a birthday or a baptism or Mother's Day or whatever, a birthday, always getting together. And the whole community is like that, and people do that, and they get together to come to these places, and they all feel like, you know, we're all brothers and sisters, you know.
That's it.
And
with
we're
all
here
of our brothers and
supporting
sisters.
everything Rockabilly, everything Grease.
Yeah, we're all Latinos Unidos, man, and that's the way it has to be, and that's the way it should be, man.
Dearest God, we ask you to bless Joe, and we ask you to bless this car, that it may know the power of your Holy Spirit in all that Joe does.
See, the way we were brought up, we go out the house, hey, here, hold on, let me bless you before you get out. My mom, my grandmother, somebody. So we're used to, you know, being blessed, whatever we do, whatever we... Are you gonna go out for that job interview? Hey, where are you going? You gonna go out tonight? So, you know, we're used to that, being blessed. Amen. Can I be blessed? Sure. You know what? People think I'm superstitious, but it made my day, made me feel a lot better. I needed that, man. I know for sure now I'll get to my destination in time and safe. For the show tonight that I will be playing, Moonlight Cruisers.
La noche empieza a bajar pesa, busco a mi mujer, la que va a bailar. Cuando cae la noche empieza a bajar pesa, busco a mi mujer, la que va a bailar. Baila, 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 vamos a gozar esta rica cumbia que te va a gustar. Baila, 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 vamos a gozar esta rica cumbia que te va a gustar.
Bienvenidos a Pueblo de Los Ángeles. Para los que no saben hablar inglés, se los voy a decir en español. Los Ángeles siempre va a ser de mexicanos y para los mexicanos. We're here in Pueblo de Los Ángeles, Olvera Street. This is where it all started, Los Angeles, by Mexicans.
Hello! What's this? The silhouette of a crucifix. Olvera Street. Here, 150 years ago, the city of Los Angeles was founded and known as El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles, meaning the town of Our Lady, Queen of the Angels. Casita, delicious enchiladas, tortillas colorados and tamales, cooked while you wait, served hot in more ways than one.
We're here in Plaza Olvera. It started, 1700s, 1800s. It was all ranch. And, as you can tell, everything's pretty much the same. We got someone playing La Bamba for us. It's really cool. I'm here just to let you know that this is my roots. I grew up with ranch, a lot of ranch around. So I wanted to show you guys a little bit of history and a little bit of life, how they lived here in Mexico back in the 1700s. First hot rod, cruising style, down Whittier Boulevard back in the 1800s. This is the kind of music I grew up with. It's in my heart. Here you go, guys. This is all Lincoln Heights, old, very old community in East Los Angeles. This is Lincoln Park. That's Cuauhtemoc, famous warrior. My house with no railing, really ghetto, my old car. It is very crazy, it is very violent, but I don't know if people can relate to me, but when you go out of your own community, you feel scared, you feel threatened. But when you're in your own community, you feel you can walk in the night, you can leave your door open, and it's not the safest community, but it's yours. So that's the sense that I got of I don't know, I feel like if I'm in my home, you know, like I'm at peace when I'm there, you know? That's what I love about, you know, growing up in East Los Angeles. It's just its own little world, its own little community, and it's really cultural. This is Whittier Boulevard, famous for cruising, famous for coming and picking up on girls, famous for the oldies. The two biggest DJs was Art LeBeau and Huggy Boy. And you know, there were a lot of inspiration. They played a lot of doo-wop, a lot of love songs. It was really cool. A lot, you know, the scene about Rockabilly. You were speaking of one of them. Hey bro, can you wait? Here in East LA, it's not really known for a lot of Rockabillys, but we got a young generation which is here. What's your name, bro?
Giovanni.
Giovanni? Is there more Rockabillys that go to your school?
Not really. A few, like 5 or something.
They're fake or what?
Yeah.
What about the chicks? You get a lot of chicks?
I already got one, yeah.
Yeah. You're faithful to her or what? Yeah. It's good, man. All right, these are Creepers. They came around in the 80s. It's got the shirt, the black shirt with the cowboy western shirt over it, rolled up. Show them your leather jacket, bro. It's got an old Stray Cats pin. It's rock and roll all the way. If you ever hear Joe Clay's Don't Mess With My Ducktail, rock and roll, hoodlum style. What do you do it for? You do it for the love of it? You do it just to be different? Because I know you stand out, bro. Why do you do it? I mean, your dad influenced you, but there's got to be a reason, you know? Can you answer that or no?
I just do it because I like the style. I really don't care what everybody else thinks or whatever.
That was really cool. We found that little young cat because he must really see us and see me and think like, man, you're a square, you know? Well, what gang is here, bro?
Pipe Fence.
Pipe Fence? It's a really old gang. Pachuco's in the 40s. You sort of become from a greaser, that's what he has that mentality of, a greaser, to being a hep cat, which what I am with the vintage clothes. He's like fucking rock and roll all the way, and he has his big hair, and he doesn't give a shit what people say. I can't have big hair anymore because, you know, the girls ain't gonna date me, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He has heart, and that's what we need, people more like him, you know? Real famous bridge. Everyone knows it. You know, come on such movies as Mi Familia, My Family, Stand and Deliver. This whole neighborhood here belongs to a very old Pachuco gang called White Fans. A big issue in the scene is you get all these guys coming up and they're like, well, it's part of, you know, rock and roll, it's part of the greaser movement, being in a social club, being in a jacket club, but it really isn't, because you got to live through it. You got to live through that life, that experience, and they see these movies, they see the T-Birds, they see Crybaby, and they say, hey, we can do that, we can get into rumbles, I can carry a switchblade, I can carry some brass knuckles, and that's not reality. I've gotten hurt, my friends have gotten hurt. By the way, I'm not an active member. I don't think any of us are. If you take the name off, we're still friends. A club called Saint Sinners. They were around in the late 40s in Mexico. They were called Santos Pecadores. I love my friends so much that I never want to see them get hurt. And it was getting to the point where they were getting hurt, where they were getting stabbed, where they were getting beat down, getting metal plates in their head, getting shot. And I don't want to put my friends through that. None of us wanted to put our friends through that. So we just ended up saying, enough is enough. There was 2 directions that I needed to take, was with that I'm going to stay like this and keep fighting and keep thinking I'm a hard guy, or do what I love, what I love is being in a band and DJing, and that's the direction I took. You know, the culture, the pop culture is always about trying to fit in, and maybe these jacket clubs or these kids want to fit in, so they join, and they don't know what they're joining, you know, until they start going out and they start seeing that there really is a big exposure, that they don't have to be in that gang because that's all they saw. They start going to shows and they see, hey, maybe I can get a girl and dance, maybe I can wear some slacks, maybe I can look 50s, maybe I can be a hep cat. I don't have to be this hardcore greaser fighting and proving myself, you know. When you become an adult, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone, just yourself.
I was born in the San Fernando Valley in Pacoima. Yes, where Richie Valens lived and everything else. Spanish is actually my first language, definitely. You pick up kids. You pick up English in school,
right?
Neighbors and whatever
English was
else.
an outside thing. In the home was Spanish.
Yeah, to this day, we don't speak any English in our household.
You can't walk in and speak English in your house.
The funny thing about our parents, we've been here 50 years. They can't speak English. But it's funny because all these Mexican bands, they try to interpret all those rockabilly bands like Conway Twitty. There's quite a few, which is a huge country artist, and huge rockabilly artists in the 50s as well. A lot of them, they try to interpret them, like they interpret these American artists, these rockabilly acts, but they interpret the way they felt them, and which wasn't at all hillbilly, it wasn't at all rockabilly. It became this very rock and roll rhythm and blues sort of, because that's what they knew. That's how that's the flavor. That's it's got that more. You know what I mean? Because hillbilly, rockabilly, Southerners, whatever. It's a hillbilly. The whole hiccups in the singing. That's easy to them. To us, that's not easy. But that's the way they interpreted those songs. We come from that background where there's more sabor,
right, rhythm.
There's a little more rhythm into our stuff, and that's what Mexican rock and roll is, and that's why I guess it falls into that category. Not necessarily because it's in Spanish.
I think that's what makes this scene here in LA, that everybody can relate to each other, and it's all diverse, but it's all as one.
In a minute I'll be hysterical. I can sing 12 times better than that little floozy any day in the week. I'm not beautiful, no, I'm old, and she's still got her own teeth.
One thing about this kind of music, if you're an older gentleman or a woman, you got gray hair, your voice isn't what it used to be, you do not get ridiculed by these fans. You're a treasure.
Just a raunchy old broad. Look, y'all got this to look forward to. How old are you? 18, 19, 20? 28? I'm 63. So see, you just don't get older, you just get better.
They're so afraid that I'm not what I used to be. We don't care. You're here, we knew what you did, and just do your best job and we'll love you for it.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Everybody's Moving, Clint Clear!
About 7 years ago, I started hearing about Viva Las Vegas, and people were telling me they went to this killer show and all these rockabilly bands, and these old cats were still playing, and we thought, God, this is great. There's a scene going on again.
Rockabilly.
C-E-L.
We tried to recreate.
L. Yeah, there you go.
The people who come here are mainly the 21 to 40-year-old age group who come from countries all over the world.
Brighton in London, South East London.
Australian, Dutch, German.
Oh, I just wish I had children that needed shoes.
All the way from LA County to here, Las Vegas. Remember that shit.
Plus there's also the car show on a Saturday, which this year had over 500 cars.
The lake thing, come on. I want to see the lake thing.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Say queso.
We don't do general advertising in the sort of general Vegas press because we don't want to water the event down. The music that everyone likes is the lesser known 50s music.
Everybody, to Ruth Brown and crew.
From the Legend Gold Records, this is a gold record for the Rockabilly Hall of Fame, Bob Timmers. Pat Warking, Legend Gold Records. That's for you.
Well, this is my baby Joe. We've been coming out to Viva Las Vegas and having a booth here for 2 years now. None of this is vintage, it's reproduction. But I think we're filling in a need because when a girl likes something that's vintage, it may not be her size. But when they come here, they can see a dress and they know they're going to find it in their size. This is Darla Montoya. She basically started making flowers at first for herself. She named it My Baby Joe after her mother who passed away. And that was her mother's nickname. And what can I say? She's the brains behind everything. We've sold to Singapore, Spain, the Netherlands, Japan,
France.
Everywhere on the internet. We even sold to people on the USS carrier. What was her name?
Kitty Hawk.
Kitty Hawk. They're in Iraq, and the girl just still wanted to buy dresses.
The Dave Gonzalez is an X500.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the Paladins. Yeah.
Power
Dave Gonzalez is a very interesting guy. He's the he does guitar in a very traditional way. He has chosen an outlet for his talent that is based on a style, that early rock thing that's called rockabilly. He is very much a classic rockabilly player who is a student of the thing. I mean, he really is a good example of the best that there's ever been in that.
This guitar here is they call it the Paladin model. It's a replica of my old guitar, and it's made and assembled and adjusted and cut and everything as a replica of my 57.
We don't expect to sell tons of guitars. It honors him. It does add to the bottom line, of course. The guitars are valuable, and a person who wants a real classic early 50s style guitar, we build it just like that.
So now people can order it, they can buy one.
The scene has been growing quite rapidly over recent years here in the USA, but I think it's leveled out now. It's not going to become a big trend like the swing thing became a big trend and then died overnight.
What happened to the art? How did this crap start? The music of today, does it have any heart? Rap artists iced up and sporting bling bling. The new kids on the block manager said he needed good looking people who could sing. Prefabricated grunge clothing sold in department stores. Today's rap sellouts, nothing more than rap whores. Famed, the other four-letter word beginning with F.
You know, I was thinking to myself as like saving something that was going to die when the guys got to be like 70, you know? And this actually blows me away because I never thought in my life that anything would be like this.
I've been doing it since '51, and you know, but I never sell many records. I mean, I don't make any money off them really. Everything we've done has always been underground, but I've had a lot of publicity, and I've got known around the world.
It's a scene that I plan on being in for a long time, pretty much till I'm vintage.
We keep it alive, you know.
Corporate America has always been afraid of rockabilly.
Exactly.
They only wanted to shoot Elvis from the waist up. Exactly. What is that all about?
But even nowadays,
today,
they don't even touch it nowadays, man. We keep it alive.
There's no telling what tomorrow will bring. Will you still hear my name when that morning bird sings? Don't know if or when I'll see you again. But darling, just the same, what a dream it's been. When I hold you, I can feel your hearts move down the line. Well, come with me, I'll always be proud to say you are mine. Maybe this is where the story will end, but darling, just the same, what a dream it's been.
I recorded my songs in the 50s. I believe that if you didn't keep having these young bands, our music would eventually die out, right? But they're keeping our music going because they're still playing, and they like what we did in the 50s, and then so they're doing the same, and they're coming out with new stuff all the time, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
We're gonna feature the Lonely Blue Boys. We're gonna feature Alex Vargas right here.
When I say I'm on stage and I say, thank you for supporting it, thanks for coming out, to all these people, this and that help and come out, I mean, I mean it, because we couldn't do it without them. I mean, you know, this is the music we chose to play. We're not rich, we never had a hit record because it's still an underground gig.
The fight goes on, it never ends. I mean, even today you walk around and you're dressed like a rocker or a hillbilly or, you know, a hepcat or a rockabilly rebel, and people still look at you.
I love it when she sees something visual. It can be a dress, it can be a pinstripe thing, a flame job, and she'll say like, Dad, check that out. That's really sweet, you know. And I mean, really, you can just feel that it really rocks her, and I like that.
You have a satisfaction of knowing that what you have was maybe something that someone else created their home with, that had their family with, that had their loving environment with.
And the more you hear it, the more you like it, the more it goes into your blood, your veins, you live it.
You know, you learn from history. You learn from history. If you watch these old films and you watch the old TV shows and you watch these old, you can learn from it, you know. It's like, wow, that jacket with those pants.
We are in America, you know, the sky is blue. The western mountains are in the background, and I'm a rockabilly cat, and I'm always a teenager.
Every time they ask me, I say, that she's mine, mine.
Can you give Joe a big hand for sitting in for us in the blue suede? Our drummer was kidnapped. And listen, if any of you see George, we're trying to find George. He's somewhere in a room with a ball gag. Somebody tied him up. He's lost. Room 127. He's in 127. Have you guys heard the rumors about 127? It's not true. It's not true. It's not true.
It's all true.
George! George! Pass the hat around for George. DJ, Mr. DJ! Mr. DJ!
Hey, people, let me tell you something. Let me tell you where I'm at. When you're looking at me, you're looking at a rockabilly man. That's where I'm at. That music drives me crazy. It gets down in my soul. It makes me laugh. It makes me cry. It makes me lose control. Give me that rockabilly music. Oh, that rockabilly music. Peggy Sue. Ginny, 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 now don't forget Linda Lou. We'll sing about that rainy night, stalled on the railroad track. The 19 angel went away, never, never to come back. Give me that rockabilly music, oh that rockabilly music. Give me that rockabilly music, that's for me. I want that rockabilly music. Give me that rockabilly music, oh that rockabilly music, that's for me. Mr. Record President, holding all that gold. You try to kill our music, but you just can't kill our soul.